Hi, I'm Janine and welcome to my Thursday night live. Today I would like to share some information with you about materialism and overconsumption of shopping, buying stuff. I've got a lot of notes because this is linked to a documentary I've watched last night on Netflix called Buy Now, The Shopping Conspiracy, I think it's called. A must watch for everyone. The whole family needs to watch this. It's shocking what's going on. And I've made 5 pages of little notes because I can't remember an hour and a half documentary all myself, but this is stuff you need to know, guys, and this needs to be shared with people. This documentary needs to be watched because it's just unbelievable what's going on. So first of all, major corporations, one of the biggest online shopping stores begins with A. I'm not going to mention any names because of the consequences of that, but I'm sure you know who I mean. If you wanted to go online and buy something, you would go to this company. Their name starts with A. So first of all, just the science behind getting people to keep buying things is complex. I remember when I went to night school to study psychology and my tutor asked me if I was going to go into advertising. That says a lot. I was like, no, I want to help people, not take advantage of them. And things like phones, laptops, tablets, these things are made to only last 2-3 years. And they've been manufactured, so they're sealing them up now so they can't be repaired. They're changed in one of the phones. Remember, there's like a screwdriver, you've got the straight line, then you've got a star screwdriver, and they actually changed the hole in for the screwdriver, and it's called a pentabular hole. So it actually looks like a 5-petaled flower or a 5-pointed pentagram, depending on which way you look at things. So in this documentary, they talk about things like this. The fashion industry used to have, your summer collection, your winter collection, and then it expanded into spring and autumn. And now it's 12 months of the year. Every month of the year, there is a new thing being released in the fashion industry. 500 million sneakers a year. 500 million sneakers a year are sold. Football shirts. They don't just have 2 shirts. They have a home shirt, an away shirt, this shirt and that shirt. There's a whole array of shirts. Why? To get the consumer to buy another shirt. It's all about selling. 1 in 6 dress shirts sold in America are actually only made in America. The other 5 are imported in. Companies like Gap produce 12,000 new items a year. H&M 25,000 new items a year. Shein 1.3 million new items a year. And altogether it's 100 billion garments a year. Now just think about that, 100 billion garments being produced a year. Well, if you're like me, probably, every now and then you clean out your wardrobe and you'll maybe give a bag of old clothes to the charity shop or something like that. Where is 100 billion items of clothing going? You're going to find out. So 68,000 cell phones are being made per hour. 190,000 garments are being made per minute. Back in 1925, the light bulb would have lasted 2,500 hours. Now it was changed then, so it only lasted 1,000 hours, so you have to buy more. It's $1 trillion industry. There's a lot more waste after holidays, and I'm not just talking about the clothes and stuff that we buy, which is an addiction, and we're being groomed to become addicts. This one-click thing is grooming people. Something needs to be done about this. Something needs to be done about it, not just from the addiction to shopping, which is a massive problem in our world, but from the environmental side of it. When you watch this documentary and find out what's really going on, you're going to be blown away. These companies are producing all of these items, and once it's shipped and not returned, they've got no responsibility or no care about what's happening to the end of life of that item, whether that item's going in the trash or what's going on with it. These things are being shipped out. Clothes are being shipped to places like Ghana. So many of them. There's 30 million people in Ghana, and 15 million items of clothing are being shipped there every week. And they dump them in the ocean. They're washing up on the beaches. They're washing up on the beaches. There's beaches covered in old clothes and shoes and things like that. These polyester clothes, microplastics, we're washing them in the washing machine. They're going through the washing machine. The microplastics goes into the water supply. The water gets cleansed and gets led back through into our taps. We're washing in plastics. We're putting plastics. We're drinking plastic water. It's getting absorbed into our skin. All of this type of stuff. So that's just a part of it. These companies need to be held culpable for their carbon footprint. They're making out that they're recycling things, and I've talked about recycling before. That there's 7 labels and only 2 of the labels are recyclable, and even one of those isn't fully. This documentary is saying that 10% of stuff is actually recyclable, is getting recycled. The rest of it is going into landfill, is going into the ocean, or it's being burned, which is poisoning the air. Something needs to be done about this. We really need to look at how much we're consuming, what we're buying, whether it really is recyclable or not. Things like the VR headsets, virtual reality, not recyclable. They've sold millions of those. They're going to end up in landfill. So there's that. The ingredients in the electronics, phones, tablets, computers, heavy metals, cadmium, lead, mercury, brominated flame retardants which cause cancer and reproductive disorders. These things, phones, tablets, computers, they're not just throwaway trash that can be recycled. They're hazardous to health and to the environment, to us and to the planet. And it's not being covered as it should be. This documentary is exposing the fact that they do a bit, but it looks good. It looks good that they're doing something for climate control, but they're not really. It's called greenwashing, where they make out they're doing a bit, and they may have done a bit, but what they're doing is 1% of what needs to be done, and it's all a front to get good publicity. So, they can just keep making more money. The woman one of the women that is narrating the program said that when she worked at this company, that begins with A, she realised just how bad it was, and she was fired and is now, she's now joining the government to see if she can, become a counsellor and do something that way, because she's realised there's a big sneaker company that also begins with A. The guy that was the boss of that is also left and is sorry for being a part of it as well. So some of the employees are leaving the companies, but then they have to sign when they join that they will be loyal to the company no matter what, and things like this. So there's a lot going on. What else have I got on here? Yeah, so just donating it, so you're thinking it's being taken to third world countries and stuff like that. It is, but it's being dumped on their land. It's not going to, people aren't wearing it, they're being sent too much. There's just too much of it. They don't need all of our old clothes and sneakers and stuff like that. They don't need it. Well, so I've mentioned about the microplastics. We say things like, I'm throwing it away. Throwing it away. Where's away? Away's landfill. Away's the ocean. It's poisoning the fish. And that's poisoning us. In the documentary, they actually cut a fish open and take its gut out, and its gut was full of plastics. They film a chip packet, yummy chips, goes into the ocean. 10 years down the line, it's still, there's still a piece of it this size that is you can still see. And 100 years down the line, still all these little bits of plastic floating around in the ocean. This isn't something that's going to go away. This is something that's killing us. And it's not something we can ignore. We all have to take responsibility because every single one of us buys things. We all buy things. But we're not putting any thought into the ethics of the companies that are selling to us. And basically, I hope you watch the documentary, because the people that work there are saying they're ruthless. It's all about profit. And if you were the boss of the company and you went in and said, we're going to clean up our act and our 50 billion profit is going to drop to 25 billion, you'd be fired. And they'd bring somebody in who has no morals and is prepared to do what needs to be done and to turn a blind eye, because that's how these companies work. Well, we're in an epoch now with great change on the planet, guys. I'm talking to you a lot about we're in the middle of a 60% historical change on the planet. The universe is behind us. The planetary alignments are behind us. So this is a time to make a difference. This is a time to stand up, talk to people about this, share this documentary with everyone you know and let everyone know what's really going on. Because it's up to us to do something. They're not doing it. It's all about money. So we need to be responsible as well, but it's time to, step up and do something about it. If you can sew and you've got business acumen, taking a lot of these clothes can be turned into something else, into something useful. There's got to be someone out there that can help with this waste. I know I read last year somewhere that there's a fungi that eats plastic. We need, these fungi farms to be built so that the plastics can be put there. Plastic bottles, they don't get recycled. They go into landfill. 5 billion pounds of landfill in the USA alone every year. Poisoning the land, poisoning the air. People need to be held culpable for their carbon footprints. They really do. And the A company, a while back apparently, they were going to go on strike, and the corporate bosses the night before the strike said that they would get involved with climate change and that they would play their part. Well, people are not believing them now. It's all a front. Greenwashing. It's like, look at what we're doing for the environment, and it's less than 1% or 1% of what needs to be done. Apparently the people that produce these plastic bottles and things, making these lovely, everyone singing together adverts to sell sodas, they are the ones that said, well, we'll recycle. Let's recycle the plastic and there won't be a problem. But the plastic's not being recycled. A very small fraction of it is being recycled. These phones and things like that are being shipped off to places like Thailand, where you've got poor people sitting all day taking them apart with a bit of cloth wrapped around their face and some gloves on, being exposed to all of those toxic chemicals and heavy metals going into the environment. And the companies that have produced these things, they produce, they sell, they deliver, and then they wash their hands of it. They're poisoning us. They're poisoning Mother Earth. Something needs to be done about it. Something seriously needs to be done about it. So, what else have I got on here? What else have I written down? I've written about the donated, yeah, 1%. Okay. So, basically we're looking to support more people that are creating vegan-based products, plant-based products, but again, read the labels because they've been lying about that. There was a woman in the documentary went into the stores and basically said that most of the labelling on packets is lies, which doesn't surprise me. But this is getting worse and worse and worse. When these companies are producing and producing and producing and producing and not putting any thought. This woman said there's no discussion. The guy from the sneaker corporation said there's no discussion about what do we do about our carbon footprint or the waste. You know, what happens at the end of the life of these sneakers when they're worn out, they've got a hole in them. Do you want to know what happens? They go into the ocean. They get eaten. They poison the water supply. That's what happens to them. And these things don't just disappear. They can last for decades and decades, and some of them hundreds of years. So if people don't wake up to this, and I mean us, we have to wake up to what we're buying, what we're consuming. I can't remember what book it was in. I read a book a couple of years ago that was a spiritual teacher kind of thing, saying the biggest problem with humanity is materialism. And we're mind controlled, we're brainwashed, we're fed. If you need to have this to be like one of the A-team, you need to have the latest this, you need to have the latest that. It's all psychology to get people to buy, and the psychology behind this one click, and it's delivered to your house the next day. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to our finances. People end up spending money they can't really afford with credit cards. It's dangerous to the environment. It's an addiction that most people don't even worry about. I can help with that, by the way, if there's anyone out there that wants help with addiction. I've got a brilliant program that will help you with that. But all of this needs to be brought to people's attention, because I consider myself pretty much in the know of what's going on in respect to these so-called conspiracies. I've watched the one about the sea and the fish, and I've watched the one about the pretty much all of them. The cowspiracy, there's one called Hogwashed now on YouTube as well. Earthlings documentary on YouTube about factory farming. And they just break the rules. There are rules, and we think they're applying to the rules, but they're not applying the rules. They just do what they want, and they get taken to court, and they get fined $1 million. Well, what's $1 million fine to $1 trillion a year company? It's nothing. It's a slap on the wrist. We're the ones that are going to have to make a difference. We're the ones that are going to have to choose more wisely and educate our children and stop using these platforms. Thankfully, the online thing has never been something I've liked to do anyway. I like to feel things, and I like to try things on. I don't shop online. Very unusual for me to do it. It just doesn't appeal to me. But the companies that are doing this are the main street, the main high street companies that are just producing and producing and producing. And the clothes are not even good quality. They're made to wear out after 3 or 4 washes, so that next month you go and buy some more because that one looks a bit baggy, or it's shrunk or whatever. This is being done on purpose with no care for the environment, for the earth, for the sea life, for the people that live near these landfill places and where they're breeding, thousands and thousands of animals, and all of that excrement and urine that they produce is being scattered through surrounding fields, and it's going into people's homes and covering their children and things like that. It was a documentary I watched last week. So what can we do? What can we do? External pollution is a projection of internal pollution. We need to cleanse ourselves. We need to think about the products that we're buying, and we need to ignore the labels, guys. Find small companies that are giving you quality products that really are environmentally friendly. Companies that are wrapping their products. I seen one online the other day wrapping their food in banana leaves and stuff like that, and cutting down on the plastics, because these things don't get recycled. Clothes, plastics, computers, phones, washing machines, TVs, furniture, everything. It's not getting recycled. It's getting thrown into landfill or burned or dumped in the ocean or dumped into poor countries, the other side of the world. But these places they're all over the world. Every country has got these landfill places. One of them, I meant to get a photograph and I've left it in the other room. I don't want to run in there. There's so many sneakers been dumped into the desert, in the middle of the desert. Apparently you can see the dump from space of sneakers in the desert. What's going on? We can't sustain this. We're poisoning the planet. 100 billion articles of clothing being made every year. Where is it all going? We can't keep up like this. Somebody has to do something. We have to do something. We are the power. We don't need to be buying clothes every month or every week with our wages. We don't. And there are plenty of smart people out there that can take a lot of these materials and turn them into something else. Plastics can be made into bricks to build small houses for people, and wrapped in something that is not so harmful. There are things that can be done, but what they say in the documentary is that it's cheaper to dump it than it is to do something else with it, give it to other people. So what they're doing is excess food. These big corporations, end of the day, they have to throw the food out in certain coffee shops, and I'm not mentioning names. The day before the expiration date, some of the people said, some of the companies put the products in a mixer and mix it all up before they throw it out so that people can't raid the trash. Their purses, handbags, all kinds of stuff that they don't sell, they don't give it away to the poor people. They cut them up, they slash the suitcases and then throw them in the trash. They can't even be given away to the poor. They don't give the food away to the poor because they're going to have to pay somebody to do that. It's easier to just dump it in the trash and let that be shipped off to another country. This is what's going on. This last week, I'm deciding to stand up and let my inside warrior come out and start defending this planet and what's going on with it. Because we're being lied to. Not just the planet, the people are being lied to. And they've gotten away with it for too long. So I, for one, in the name of one, do not consent to any companies that are throwing away trash that could be given to the poor to help people, or sold at a discount and give that money to help people. I do not consent to it. I do not consent to landfill. I do not consent to stuff being dumped in the ocean. I do not consent to products that are hazardous waste being thrown in the trash. We have to stand up and do our part. They're blaming us. Well, we've sold you the product. It's your problem what you do with it. We don't know about all this stuff that's in these products, how dangerous it is. Because that's not on the shopping list. Oh, by the way, this isn't recyclable and it's full of heavy metals and it's toxic to the environment and it's probably going to end up in the ocean or in the landfill not far away from you or in a poorer country. Or we're going to burn some of it, which is going to pollute the air. That's not on the shopping list. That's not on the sales pitch, is it? Of course it's not. So what can we do? Well, we can, people out there start petitions, start sharing that documentary with your friends and family, get as many people to watch it, let them watch this, share this, get this information out. There are companies making plant-based sneakers and things like that. There's more vegan stuff on the market these days. Say no to fast fashion. Go into these stores. I rarely go into these big stores, but I have been in recently with a friend of mine, and the clothes are not high quality. They're a fair price, but they're not high quality. They're not high quality products. And they're going to end up in landfill or in the ocean or burned. And so no to fast fashion, no to single-use plastics, plastic straws, toothpicks, earbuds, all of these type of things. Used once, trash. Where they go in? Landfill or in the ocean. Water bottles, obvious. Coffee cups, we know they're not. They look like they're paper. They're plastic on the inside. That's an illusion. Oh, paper cups. No, more toxins. And if you do shop online at these big stores, put it in your cart and leave it for a month. That's what she said. Leave it for a month and then go back. And if you really need it, buy it. But I bet you that buzz by the end of the month has gone. You're like, no, I'm not really that bothered about it. We're being brainwashed to buy and buy and buy and buy and buy. And then we think we can just put a couple of trash bags full of clothes, in the spring clean or in the whenever, in the trash or to the charity shop, and it's out of our hands. It's not. We are responsible as well. So I'm not putting the blame just on these companies, because when we purchase stuff, we have to now start thinking about our own carbon footprint. Or we're just the middleman, which they produce, we buy, we dump into the planet or into the ocean. Okay, buy less. Just buy less. Think about it. Keep things for longer. Get things repaired. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. There was a guy on there, I really liked him. Started up a company, his name's Kyle Wines, W-E-I-N-S, called iFixit, and it's spelled I-F-I-X-I-T. And he repairs old phones, computers, laptops, stuff like that, tech stuff. This company, one of the phone companies, took him to court because he was using, manuals. Obviously, you can download a manual for your computer and how it works and stuff, for copyright. That they didn't want him using the manuals to repair the products. Well, he won his case. Thankfully, there is some justice in the world, and he is repairing stuff and encouraging more people to do that. Get it repaired. Don't replace it. Get it repaired. But a lot of these companies, to try and stop that, are changing the screw holes, which I said earlier about in things. They're gluing things together instead of screwing them together to make it harder to repair them, and things like that. So those companies, we need to stop using them. We need to stop buying products from these companies and start demanding, is this repairable? How much of it is recyclable? How many dangerous heavy metals are there in this product? This phone that I'm giving to my child? We need to start demanding that changes are made. It's up to us. Nobody else is going to do it. They're so rich they can afford to get sued. They don't care if they get sued for poisoning the environment or us. They don't care about us. They pretend they do. It's called greenwashing. So we have to stand up. We are a force. We are a force. Okay, so that's me on my soapbox for tonight. And thanks for joining me, guys. And there's no judgment here. It's about education, and it's about choices, and it's about creating new earth. We can't create the new earth while these corporations are just pouring plastics and toxic metals into it. It has to stop. They're poisoning our planet. And so far, they've been getting away with it, whitewashing that, yeah, we're doing this to climate control, blah, blah. It's lies. They're not doing it. They just do these expensive, advertising and promotion that they're supporting the climate change, blah, blah, blah. And it's all sales pitches that make us think, oh, aren't they a great company? They're doing the right thing. They're not doing the right thing. Watch the documentary. It's called Buy Now, The Shopping Conspiracy. And there's another good one on YouTube called Hogwashed about the pigs. This is free-range pigs, by the way. Not, locked up in little cages. These pigs are allowed to walk around on the grass, but they're full of disease. They're left suffering, sick, dying, eaten alive by the other pigs if they're sick. And this is grass-fed pork. More lies. Grass-fed, I watched a video last week exposing grass-fed beef. The cows were still lined up in those metal racks, just like they are in factory farming. There was a big tractor thing going through and dumping grass onto them, like, tons and tons of grass, and was going all over their heads, and they're trying to eat it in cages. Grass-fed beef. Lies. Free-range chickens laying eggs. They get a piece of that much square grass. That's all they get, a little space like that. Not free range. It's a small prison cell. And again, they're standing in excrement of urine on their brothers and sisters that have been left to die, infected, eating one another. It's disgusting. So don't be fooled by grass-fed either with the animal stuff. And check the organic as well, because there's a lot of lies coming through with organic companies as well now. Really, we need to be growing our own food. We need to be getting to know our local farmers. More and more people need to come together and buy land and create allotments of food for people, for their community, and working together as communities. This talk about the new earth and people, coming together as communities, from what I see, most people are just going, oh yeah, that's lovely, and they're not doing anything. We have to take action. We have to take action. If we want to heal our world, and it needs healing, every single one of us has to take action. Yes, take back our power and honour. Yes, absolutely. So I'm fired up again today. I was fired up in my live last week. It's frustrating. It is frustrating when you see, if you go on social media, just like how many people are consuming and consuming and consuming, and you know, everything from makeup is another massive problem. Copies of designer label makeup out there, toxic chemicals. And kids, they haven't got a clue. They're just buying all this garbage and throwing it in the trash. We need to teach our children. We need to take this to the counsellors. We need to take this to people like Trump and Kennedy and people that are making a difference. It needs to be taken to the top. And there's got to be someone out there that can start putting together petitions. Petitions do make a difference. They do. Because it's a collective consciousness coming together. The hive mind that's out there at the moment is like a swarm of locusts that are just feeding off this planet and destroying it for money. We need to break out of the hive mind, and they're keeping, not looking, because it's too bad. We don't want to look at it. That's not helping. We have to look at it. We have to look at what's going on. We have to look at what's affecting us, our environment, our children, our homes, the air that we breathe, the water that we're drinking, the earth that we walk on, the oceans. I've been to places. 5 years ago, I was in, or 6 years ago now, the Caribbean. I lived there for 3 months. The garbage that washed up on the beach every day, I didn't even want to go in the water. This beautiful little island. And there was just plastic and all sorts of stuff washing up on the beaches. Unbelievable. So I've seen it firsthand on a smaller scale. But if you go and watch that video, there's whole beaches in Ghana just covered in wet clothes. The whole beach, for as far as you can see, where it's been dumped in the ocean because they don't want it, and it gets washed back up. That's poisoning the fish. People are eating the fish. More and more plastic, microplastics going into people's bodies, shutting our systems down, causing diseases like cancer. And over the next few years, there's going to be a lot more cases of that, I assure you. This isn't something that we can ignore and say, not in my reality. Because it's not as simple as that. We have to stop it. We have to come together, we have to rise up. And we have to get people in positions of power that are on our side. Not being paid off with backhanders or too frightened to stand up to these corporations. We need more people to stand up and fight for humanity and for the planet. So thanks for joining me, guys. Watch the documentary, share it with everyone you know. Let's get this information out there. And let's get their sales down. Because if they're going to continue to manufacture products that are destroying the health of humanity, all of the animals, all of the fish, and the planet, they have to be stopped. And it's up to us to do it. So thank you for listening, and I will see those of you that are in my Patreon channel on the 25th, Monday, at 12 o'clock Pacific. If you haven't joined my Patreon, in Patreon I open the one portal to clear out the negative kind of programs that I'm talking about. The more we do it, the more change there is in the world. A month ago, I focused my meditations on truth, the truth coming out. And in the last month, I've seen 2 new documentaries that are exposing the truth. So it works. It does work. When we come together in Patreon, we're a force. We are a force because we're changing the software in the machine of the reality. The outside world is a reflection of what we've got within us, in our DNA, in our consciousness, in our subconsciousness, what we've inherited from our ancestors. And if we're polluted, the outside world's going to be polluted. So we need to cleanse ourselves as well. We need to get purer. We need to be more refined. We need to eat better. We need to be careful about what we're putting on our bodies. I don't use deodorant because I think it's very linked to things like lymphatic cancer. We sweat to release toxins from under our arms. Our hair holds that sweat and that bacteria and stops it getting sucked back into the pores in our body and poisoning us. So when I talk about not shaving, your hair's there for a reason. And that's just one of the reasons. I could go on and on about all of this, but you get where I'm coming from now. We refine, we go up in our consciousness, the outside world is going to change. More truth is coming out, but we have to act on it. It's all right somebody telling you that's going on, but doing nothing about it is just going to let it get worse and worse and worse and worse. Yeah, blue water. We do need to rise up. We do need to rise up. And the only way we can do that is to get as many people on board as possible so that they can see what's going on as well. And even saying, I do not consent to this. I do not consent to these toxins. I do not, consent to what's going on here, is sending a message out into the universe. But please think about what you're buying, where you're buying it from, what you're consuming, and what's going to happen to it when you finish with it. Okay, lovelies, thanks for joining me, and I will see you all again soon. Bye for now.